to Tell Me More with me, CJ Quartlbaum. Tell Me More exists to help bridge the gap in our intergenerational workplace dynamics, build better leaders, and ultimately prepare for the future. If you've been following along on Substack and on YouTube, I'm in the middle of this series right now where I'm talking about the things that need to change as we look at the future of parenting. And the first thing was our relationship with technology. So today I get to be joined by Nate Webb, who helps us build resilient kids in a tech heavy world. Nate, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you so much. I'm really excited to be here. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, it's good to have you. I came across your work on Instagram, of course, because my explore page is full of me trying to figure out how to be a better dad.
Yeah.
Nate, tell the people about yourself. Who are you? Where are you from? And what do you do now?
Yeah. So I'm a school counselor. I'm a national speaker. I'm a husband. And most importantly, I'm a father. I have a 6-year-old, almost 7-year-old, a 4-year-old, a 2-year-old, and a 3-month-old. Raising kids in this world is kind of nuts. As a kid, I got bullied relentlessly. I got picked on because I had thick glasses. I was socially awkward. And I'm from a really, really small town. And so I got picked on relentlessly all throughout my school age years. Um, and it got, to a point where you would say that social media and bullies almost took my life. Thankfully, I was able to become better and not bitter. And I went to school and I got my bachelor's degree in psychology and I got my master's in school counseling. And I became a school counselor so I could, help advocate for kids who didn't have a voice themselves. And along the way, I started a fun little Instagram page called Bullies Be Gone. It was like the OG Instagram page just talking about bully advocacy and trying to create systems where kids feel included. And then the more I was talking about bullying, more and more the online section would intersect with what I was talking about. Um, and I'd be getting more and more versed in online safety. And so last year I kind of pivoted from just bullies be gone from bullying into the digital safety realm um, because well the kids right now they need a lot of digital safety. Kids are getting into a lot of different things online and they're struggling as a direct result of some of the things they're being exposed to online. And so now, um, as a full-time school counselor, I'll get in my car after a day of work and make a quick little reel about something I learned that day about digital safety or just raising resilient kids in a tech-heavy world, and share it with the world. And it's been great. I've been able to become a speaker through it. I've been speaking in schools the last 5 or 6 years, giving um, assemblies and parent nights and different things, trying to educate the masses and help who I can.
It's good. As a school counselor, what are some of the things you're seeing in in this generation, in particular with their relationship with technology?
Um, it would not be a stretch to say that kids are addicted, um, and that this addiction is causing them to have issues that they wouldn't have um, if it wasn't present in their life. For example, screen dependency, just the screen itself, not even the content on the screen. When you look at a screen, your brain releases a lot of dopamine. And it feels good. The notifications, whatever it is, you're playing a game. It doesn't even have to be social media. But that alters your brain chemistry. Your brain yearns for that notification. Your brain yearns for that reinforcement as time goes on. And so as time goes on, you want that thing more and more and more. It also decreases your attention span because of that yearning for that dopamine hit. You see those people who are on screens a lot have less of a memory than they did once upon a time. Even myself, who I feel like I have pretty good boundaries with screens, I was really good at memorizing things as a kid, and as an adult, I feel like it's hard for me to even like remember a 6-digit code when I look away from my phone for a second to get into like an authorized app or something. Um, a lot of ADHD symptoms are the same symptoms of screen dependency. And even now, we're starting to see family doctors when parents come in saying their kids have ADHD, the doctors say, let's get your kid off of screens for 48 hours. And then we'll talk, see if they still have those same symptoms. So that's the first thing I've noticed is that the, it's the addiction that they always have to have it right next to them if they have it. And the crazy part is they want to look away. They want to put it down, but oftentimes they're physically incapable. I've had so many kids in my offices over the years, coming to me saying like, I am more lonely than I have ever been. I wish I could just not look at social media every day and see what everyone else's life is like, see what everyone else's highlights is like, feeling like I'm missing out all the time. I've never been more connected, but I've also never been more lonely. And a lot of that is just from the constant exposure to everyone else's life 24/7. That's the second thing that I've noticed is the comparison culture. Kids and other people, but kids especially, seeing the highlights of hundreds and thousands of other people and trying to live up to those expectations. The human brain was not built to be connected with hundreds and thousands of different people. The human brain was built to have meaningful connections, maybe a few dozen with good, valuable people in your life. And so mentally and emotionally trying to keep up with hundreds of thousands of other people and their opinions and trying to feel like you stack up against them, it is causing a lot of anxiety and depression in our youth. And it's showing me a lot of concern because this is the rising generation. I mean, if these people have a horrible view of their self-worth, how are their kids going to view themselves from viewing their parents? I know that me and my wife, we're millennials, and our parents were, Gen Xers, maybe like really, really young boomers. And the way that our parents talked about our bodies, it affected us and how we talk about our bodies later on. And we had to fix that. Similarly, with these kids, how their online activity is going to be a direct precursor to their children's mental health. And so we really need to kind of hit the brakes, do a 180 and try to do some fixing in the situation.
I've never really thought about that aspect of it, that their relationship with technology, the trickle down that it will have on their kids. I'm a millennial as well. And, we think about some of the things that our parents said and did and the direct effect that it had on us. So what do these conversations with parents look like for you?
First, it's letting them know that not my kid is not a philosophy to live by. We see a lot of, headlines, predator seduces, young woman on Snapchat, or, some dude gets kidnapped because of someone they met on Discord. And they think, oh, that would never happen to my kid. My kid is smarter than that. That is common sense. But if you don't talk to your kid about online predators, about pornography, about all these dangers that the internet has to offer, these dangers are going to find your kid if your kid's on the internet. And so we need to be talking to our kids about these things if we're willing to give our kid the internet. Now, if you're thinking, well, my kid's not old enough to comprehend some of those things right in this moment. And my answer to that would be, well, then they're not old enough to be on the internet. If you don't think they're old enough to explain these things to them to where they know what to do when they come across it, then they're not ready to be there yet. And if you think, well, it's
That's a
too
great
much,
answer.
and for some parents, like, oh, it's just too much to keep up with all the apps and the platforms and the social medias and this or that. I'm like, if you feel like it's too much, it's because it is for you right now, then, and you're not ready, and neither are they. You can wait just a little bit longer. Teach them some more. Talk to them some more. I really truly believe that words like sex and pornography and online predators should be such commonplace words in your home that kids know what they are, they know how to use the words, and they know what to do when those things will come across. There's a great book on Amazon that we found called Good Pictures, Bad Pictures Junior. And it's a really educational, straight and to the point way to teach kids about pornography. That pornography is just bad pictures where people don't have their clothes on. And if you see a bad picture online, get a look away. You go and tell mom and dad immediately. You won't get in trouble as long as you're honest. And that's it. It doesn't have to be rocket science. A lot of us, especially us in the Christian community, have a lot of baggage and like fear and trauma around some of these topics that we're supposed to be talking to our kids about because our parents had a lot of trauma and baggage around it, like don't have sex before marriage or you'll go to hell, or, whatever else might be out there. And so because of that, we were terrified of sex our whole life, even up to like our wedding night. We felt dirty and like not clean, but we were married.
And
Um,
often well into marriage
Well, into
because you
marriage
never
too.
got the because no one still talks about it even after you get married.
Exactly. And we're like, oh my gosh, like it took time to feel comfortable, being in a healthy sexual relationship with your spouse. Well, similarly, if the only time you ever talk about pornography is in an awkward church lesson, your kids are going to assume, well, if it's so bad that mom and dad can't even talk about it, Billy showed me some on the bus the other day. I can't tell them because if I tell them, they're not gonna love me anymore because they can't even talk about it if it's so bad. What happens if I told them I saw it? I can't tell them. And so that's when they start being sneaky and hiding things from us. And let me tell you, kids are sneaky when they feel like they can't trust you. That's when they start becoming little tech ninjas. That's when they start finding all the loopholes to all the parental controls because they don't feel like they're scared and they feel like they have to lie.
Right? It's creating a culture and environment of psychological safety in your home.
Yeah,
Like your kid has to know mom and dad are the safe place. I can bring
yeah.
this to them. Now, go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna say you can have like even a
Got it.
trigger warning for yourself. You could tell your kids, I tell some. I'm an elementary school counselor right now, and so I tell kids and parents they can come up with a thing called a no trouble bubble. So a kid come up to the mom and dad and say, hey, "Can I use the no trouble bubble?" And that is the parents' warning to just lock out their emotional face, just a straight stone face, not be showing they're super mad or upset or whatever. So they'll know something upset is coming my way and something that is upsetting is coming my way. And I need to prepare for that. So when the kid says, I looked at pornography or someone at school, you know, showed me their private parts or whatever it might be, uh, the first words out of our mouth are, thank you for telling me. I love you so much. We're going to work on this together. That is what kids need to hear when they're coming down to tell you something. And so having that trigger warning that, hey, can I use the no trouble bubble? It gives you a chance as a parent to prepare yourself because we're people too. I get it. And so that trigger warning can help us prepare. So we're not ruining a relationship and a rapport with our child by going off the rails and having a huge reaction.
That's good. Do you ever get the pushback from parents when it comes to things like screen time? Saying, well, I watched TV growing up and I'm fine.
I do. I do. And a lot of times the pushback is like, well, they need their phone in their room because that's their alarm clock, to wake up in the morning. Or, well, they need their TV in the bedroom for X, Y, and Z or whatever it might be. And so they have a hard time battling though with cold hard facts. And so at my parent nights, I bust out Bark Technologies. They're a software company that does monitoring for devices. They if you have their monitoring software on your devices, it'll send you a notification anytime something shady comes across your kid's phone. And they also have phones themselves and whatnot that are awesome and safe for kids. But they have a report every year on like the percentage of things that came across kids' phones that they were monitoring. And like over 70% of kids were involved in sexual conversations online. Over like 80% of kids had a sexual encounter with someone who was who was pretending to or was saying that they were an adult. This is not counting the people pretending to be kids. And there's like upwards of 60% of kids experience bullying online. And they go through it, and it's above 50% in every category that is concerning. Talking about drugs and alcohol, talking about depression, anxiety, suicidality, talking about violence, whatever it might be. And so I show those to parents and say, thinking not my kid isn't going to cut it anymore because look at these percentages. It probably is currently happening to your kid. And if your kid's not comfortable talking to you about it, you will never know. And that's the important part is that they're comfortable talking about it because I guarantee like if your kids have Snapchat, for example, it's not if your kid has been sent a nude, as well as the last time someone tried to send your kid a nude. Um, and some parents are like, no, that can't be true. And so I'm like, okay, well, guess what? I created a fake Snapchat account for this exact experiment. Um, I said that I was 14 years old because most kids put their age in their bio. I didn't put any pictures of myself or anything. I just put that in my bio. 14 years old, Utah. That's it. I put a fake name, and within the hour, I had people sending me naked photos and asking me for naked photos within the hour of my account being created. I am a fake child on Snapchat, and that happened. Imagine what's happening
with
to
no
real
picture.
imagine what happening to real kids on Snapchat by real predators. They did a study here in Utah, and 100% of everyone in prison who's done a crime against a child has Snapchat. 100%, because it's just an itemized buffet. It has the Snap map where it has like the little icons of where each individual person is. If it's a public account, which all accounts are public by default, they show up on the Snap map. And the Snap map is accurate down to the house number. And so if they zoom in far enough, they can see, oh, there's a 13-year-old down on 3rd North. There's a 16-year-old down on 118 West, like down to the house number. And so once I show parents those kind of facts about various platforms, Snapchat was just an example, but every platform's got their baggage. Um, they start to key in a little bit. I'm like, oh, maybe I should talk to my kids about some of these things because it's very real. And it's hard for them to argue with the facts.
Teens hate when I say this, but I'm constantly pressing on parents when it comes to Snapchat in particular. Your child does not need an app where the messages disappear. They just don't. And I am astounded by the number of students that I know who will say, "Oh, I'm talking to this guy, I'm talking to this girl." And first of all, I'm always like, "You're too young to date. Stop." But how'd you meet this person? Oh, Snapchat. I'm like, how do you meet people on Snapchat? Well, it's a friend of a friend of a friend, and they just added me. And so now we're talking. Well, where do they live?
And I
Seven
added
states
them
away.
back, even though I don't know them, have
Yeah.
never met them in my life.
Like, this is like when we talk internet safety, Snapchat is probably the most perfect example, unless you have a better one.
Snapchat is for me, and so that reason, like meeting strangers. I think TikTok, it's a little bit easier for kids to meet strangers on TikTok because messages don't disappear. It's a social media app, and kids, it is the most used social media app for kids right now. And wherever kids play, predators prey. But that being said, with Snapchat in particular, um, with the messages disappearing, it makes it real easy for them to talk in code and to be secretive behind their parents' backs. Right now in secondary schools, I'm talking sixth, seventh, eighth, and above, kids are buying drugs off of Snapchat without sending a single word. They send a certain string of emojis to a person, and that will tell them the time, the pickup spot, and what drugs that they're packing. And they're being sold to middle schoolers and high schoolers, and it's being sold on Snapchat. And it's like, parents, do you care? And it's funny because if a parent catches their kid sending a nude on Snapchat, they flip out, right? They get so mad. Their kid, everything's gone. You're grounded until the cows come home. And I'm like, okay, A, yes, good job taking away the phone. But B, why are you so mad? You gave them that phone. And Snapchat was created so people could send nudes to each other. Like that's the literal reason it was created, so people could send sketchy stuff and not get in trouble. They're using
I
it for its
didn't know
intended
that.
purpose. Why are you
Wow.
getting mad, mom and dad? You gave it to them. It sucks when we prick ourselves in the heart like that, but before you come railing at your kid for making a mistake on their phone, remember that you're the one that put the phone in their hands. And also remember when you was a kid, you wasn't that bright neither. And you didn't have a smartphone. Like we did stupid stuff, but we didn't feel the need to record it and put it online because there was
I
nothing to record it with.
literally I just got off the phone with my best friend and we were talking about this very thing. All of the stupid things we did back in the day, it wasn't online. It wasn't for public consumption. And because of that, we get to walk away with a new life and a clean record. And what kids today do not have the mental capacity to understand is that the internet lives forever.
Yeah. Well, what's crazy, a lot of kids don't recognize even on Snapchat, things survive forever. Even after it disappears, it's in the cloud and it's accessible to law enforcement whenever they want. They can pull up and subpoena anything off the cloud on Snapchat. And kids also don't recognize when they're sending news to each other at school, that's called distribution of child pornography. That's a felony. And you can get charged with a felony in sixth grade. Um, and kids are learning that. They're not thinking that though. They're thinking, I want to belong. I wanna be seen. I wanna be heard. Getting back to, full circle, they're more lonely now than they've ever been before. So if we can satisfy some of those needs of them being seen and them being heard in real life, they won't feel the need to seek it out online because they know their value in real life and they're not chasing ghosts of fame online.
So what's some advice you give to parents who we're recognizing that ultimately at the root of this is it's this wanting to belong, it's this need for community. How do you tell parents to go forward?
Especially with parents who have kind of let the cat out of the bag already, they've given their kids smartphones. I'd reassure them it's 100% possible to put the cat back in the bag. It's 100% possible. But you got to be a humble parent. Sit down with your kids, have a discussion. Hey, I was not aware of everything that would come into your life when I gave you that smartphone. And I apologize that I was not aware and then I gave that to you. As a family, I want to talk about what we should or shouldn't use our electronic devices for. And as a family, you can come up with a family tech plan where you talk about your values, what you do and you don't use tech for, where you do and you don't use tech in the home, and what happens if those boundaries are violated. And honestly, when kids are helping come up with the rules, they actually come up with some pretty good boundaries because they want order. They actually want to have boundaries. They want to be healthy at their core. If they're the ones with the reins and you're just there to help guide it, they're actually going to come up with some pretty good ideas on how to stay safe, at home. And then as a family, you can come up with that family tech plan. Um, and even if they're like, no, I really want a phone. I just can't live without it. Because they're in the clutches of the addiction there. Um, it's time to be a parent. Again, you can apologize. Let them know that this is on me. I gave it to you way too early. I get it. You have football practice. Here's a kid safe phone. It's a flip phone or like a Gab phone or a Bark phone or whatever, where it looks like a smartphone, but it only calls and texts. So you can have the ability to contact me. But I don't want to give all the dangers of the world to you before I have explained and trained you on how to handle them. And then move forward, one step at a time. Whatever makes you the most nervous, talk about that first. If pornography makes you the most nervous, talk about that first. If pedophiles make you the most nervous, talk about that first. If the comparison culture, self esteem, social media, whatever scares you most, talk about that first. Because when we fear something, we are giving power to that thing. So take the power back. Talk about it. When something's a forbidden fruit, your kid's going to seek it out 100% of the time. But when you talk about them and educate them, it's just a boring old thing. You're not stealing their innocence, you're preserving their childhood.
I think Drake said it best. I wasn't hiding my child from the world. I was hiding the world from my child. You know, you talk about parents being parents and it's not too late to put the cat back in the bag. That's often the pushback I get where, well, it's too late now. And you're reminding us in this moment that it's never too late. Now, the pushback that I get from students, I had this conversation with a group of high schoolers last week. They were asking me, they were like, CJ, when are you going to give your kids a smartphone? And I said, definitely not at your age. I think they were freshmen. And this girl looks at me. She goes, no, you don't understand. If you don't have a phone, you're a wimp. You're a loser. And nobody wants to be that. So how do you respond to the kids who give you that sort of pushback?
They'll be surprised the good people that will be in their tribe when they choose to delay. A lot of parents and kids are like, I'm going to get left out, right? That's when they say, you're a wimp, you're a loser because I'm being left out. And you don't want to be that person. And I'm like, you know what? You will be left out of some things, but you won't be taking your bullies home with your back pocket. And if you wanted to go do something, you can still text your friends and you can go do something instead of scrolling for days and doing nothing together. Kids who don't have phones actually experience life. Kids who have phones, they watch other people experience life. Which one do you want to be? Do you want to experience life or do you want to watch someone else do it?
That's good. All right. As I kind of round this out and bring it to a close, what are the three biggest tech safety tips that
Mm.
you would give to a parent right now?
Numero uno, no cell phones or screens in the bedroom. period. Dot. The end. Kids need sleep way more than they need any sort type of phone, TV, video game, anything. Kids who have a screen in their bedroom, on average, are falling asleep at 1 or 2 in the morning. They're loopholing around your parent controls. They're smarter than you. Don't be in denial. They don't need screens in their bedrooms. Also, behind closed doors is often when predators reach out to kids. When kids have privacy with electronics, is when bad people get contact with them. So, no phones in bed, no phones in bedrooms. Period. At the end. My second thing would have areas of your home that are screen free, where kids can learn to communicate. For example, the dinner table where you can have family fight night. I mean, have dinner, and you guys can talk to each other. Kids can get on their nerves. You can have conflict resolution, but you learn to communicate. And you can talk about it as a family, but what other device free zones do you want in your home? But have device free zones in your home. And then my last bit of advice would just be um, I mean, the phones have a bedtime, and so does the Wi-Fi. Phones need, and when they have a bedtime, they charge in one spot in the home. They don't charge in the kid's room. They don't charge in the bathroom or something. Choose a spot wherever you want, but that's where all the kids' electronics go at night. It is, and it's a norm. It's expected. It's a routine. The kitchen's a great place because it has 15 million outlets, and you only use two of them. And so you can use that at night. Um, but the other thing I was going to say at the very end of that, talk to your kids every day. 5 minutes a day is not that much to just ask, hey, I know there's so much about your world that I don't know. I would love to learn more. How's your day today? At first, you're going to get caveman teenage grunts. I don't know. But the more you try, the more effort you put in, and the longer you keep on trying, they will open up. Just don't give up.
Good. One final question.
Yes.
At what age would you introduce the smartphone?
Aha! That's going to be different for every single family. It depends on the demeanor of the kid, the maturity of the kid. Immediately, I'm thinking like junior, senior year type of thing. We want kids to have safe experiences with personal devices so that they have the muscle memory once they go off on their own. I don't want their first experience with a smartphone to be when they leave the house because I'm not there to help train them. Um, and so if you've done the groundwork, and there's a lot of groundwork to do, if you've done that groundwork, it could be like their junior or senior year, where they have access to that smartphone. But just because they get that smartphone doesn't mean that, all those ground rules that you made and that foundation you built doesn't mean you stop doing those things. If anything, you press forward even stronger with those things to help solidify that muscle memory. So when they go to college, they're not plugging their phone in next to their bed when they're even if it's in their bedroom, it's on their desk or something, not right next to their bed at night, not within arm's reach. They have those good tech health, habits. um and so I would say, yeah, probably 16, 17 years old, so they can have a couple years under your roof with that device. But again, it's going to be different for every kid. If you don't think your kid's ready, they're not. Don't push the issue too soon. And answer I give parents when they ask me, when's a good time? I'm like, whenever you're confident that they will be okay when they come into contact with pornography and online predators, because that's what's going to find them when they have their own device that's connected to the internet.
Nate, tell the people where can they find your work and keep up with you?
Yeah, I'm on Instagram, real Nate Webb, and you can see all my stuff there. So I'd love to have you for the journey.
Man, follow Nate, book him to speak, let him come and talk to you, and your parents, and your students, because this is one of the most critical issues of our time. So thank you for joining me on another episode of Tell Me More. Uh, if you're a parent out there and you're trying to figure out what to do with this technology stuff, we are here to help. You're not doing this alone. We survived this life with each other. So I'll see you next time as I ask you to tell me